are a leadership coach and you are the author of Quantum Skills for Coaches. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I'm just thrilled to be here as well. Thank you so much for inviting me to this conversation. I'm just delighted to be here. Well, I live in the south of France, well, the southwest of France. Actually, it will be 11 years tomorrow that we moved down here. So near the sea, near the Pyrenees and near the Corbière Mountains. That's all rather lovely. And yeah, I'm a leadership coach working on Skype almost solely these days. In fact, long before COVID started, because Skype, I think, or Teams is the way forward, which enables me to work globally.
Sorry, what made you take that decision to work online? Was that the move to France?
Well, no, I was, having contracts with sort of some quite big clients who are global. That's the way they operate. Most of the things which they operate with these days is on Teams, on the Google Teams. So yeah, it's an easy way of working for all of us.
And you have been, as you mentioned, also coaching for quite a while. What actually got you into coaching, and when did that journey start for you?
Okay, well, the short answer to that is that through training and consultancy, I was running a lot of training programs, leadership training, culture change programs, anything to do with behavior, basically. So I'd find myself in the coffee breaks and the lunch breaks and the dinner breaks, talking to the participants, and find myself sort of unofficially coaching them. So then in 2000, or whenever it was, that coaching was kind of became a thing, became invented. And I thought the next kind of natural step would be for me to do a coaching training and add it to my offering to clients.
So that was a short answer. So yeah. I'm curious now, what's the long answer?
Well, I was always fascinated by the human condition and the limitations that we sort of all feel in our lives, including this feeling of feeling burdened by our baggage. And personally, I lived in that land and struggled there for a long time and had to dive quite deeply into the dark place, as we often all have to do sometimes. And then after a number of years, quite a lot of years really, of doing all kinds of different kinds of inner work, I found myself on a pathway sort of through it and out of it. And being able to look at all those things with a different pair of eyes. And the journey continues, of course. So this combination of fascination with the human condition and also observing it playing itself out in my own life was what propelled me to wanting to help other people to work their way through these things as well. And of course, it is the best job in the world, as you know.
I do know, yes. And that leads me on to, well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. And an image comes into my mind. I don't know if you're familiar with it from Buddhism, that they say that a lotus flower grows out of mud. So it sounds like you went through your own difficult journey, but something beautiful grew from that.
Absolutely. And I think that's the way it is for all of us. I think that most of us at some stage feel that we are in the mud for whatever reason. And that is what kind of initiates our looking at ourselves. And it can only really bloom from being down there. If we didn't have any of these trials and tribulations, I think it would be very hard for us to, fully bloom. I think they're an essential part of who we are.
Yeah, very true. So how does this lead you, how can you connect this with, I guess, your essence as a coach? Because you've almost said it, haven't you? You are kind of helping others get through challenging times. How would you express your essence as a coach?
Well, for me, coaching, I feel it's like accompanying another person for a little way along their path, and helping them to look into that dark place if necessary. And if they don't feel that there is one, then, whatever's coming up for them. But it's overall helping people to look differently at the way the human condition is playing itself out in their lives, sort of to find a new pair of eyes. And as we said, to see what opportunities could be secretly hiding in the mud there for them. And that's, I think, the essence of coaching. And it's such a privilege to be invited on that journey where somebody gets, it really is very intimate, just the two of you kind of exploring something. And as Emerson said, most of the shadows of our life are caused by our standing in our own sunshine. So, you know, having people to see that they are perhaps getting in the way of their own joy. Yeah, and it's, you know, it's just the best job in the world. And as far as leadership coaching is concerned, which is kind of the other side of the more specific side of the coaching, I think that the ultimate aim of leadership coaching is kind of through working with individual leaders individually on their issues, that's helping the organization then to create a culture which is very inspiring and also high performing, and a culture which really nurtures everybody in it. Obviously most of your work is with developing leaders, and you know, it's such an important thing to be doing, because I think leadership is basically, I like the description, leadership is getting results through others. So if a leader's going to do that, they have to be interested in other people, and they have to want to find out what that person needs in order to give their best. So they have to really want to get involved with other people, and coaching helps with this. It helps them to sort of see that. Leadership drives culture, and culture drives performance. So there's the business case already there, although there for organizations. And my particular hobby horse about leadership coaching is that not only for leaders to have coaching, but I think that if leaders at every level in an organization, right from the supervisor level right up to the CEO, have even the basic coaching skills themselves, then the organization can really take off and fly and become, you know, quite fabulous. And so I'm really quite passionate also about training leaders and managers in rudimentary coaching skills. That was, again, a long answer to a short question.
It's a wonderful, wonderful answer. And we could take a number of routes from that, but I want to pick up on what you said at the end, giving those leaders coaching skills. Do that. How do you do that?
I run coaching skills for training, coaching skills for leaders courses on programs live. And actually, quite honestly, in my coaching programs with individual leaders, if we've got enough budget for it and enough time with each person, then I'll give them a couple of sessions on just one-to-one teaching and coaching skills, just in, you know, in a few hours. It's enough to give them the basics of the mindset and asking questions and how to listen, you know, with their ears on antennas. So
and they use that with their teams, and there's a ripple effect.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and it's good because if I deliver it through a coaching session, then I can ask them the next week and the next week, well, how did you get on with it? And what are you coming up with? Rather than if you do it in a coaching training, you don't get a chance often to talk to them afterwards and really track how they're progressing with it.
And on the topics that your coachees bring to you, so I hear that providing them with coaching skills is perhaps one side of it. Do you find that those leaders who you coach come to you with similar types of issues and problems, and are they all within the leadership space, or are they topics that perhaps are relevant to anyone?
Yeah, that's a good question, Susanne. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the topics are specific to leaders, such as their impact and their effectiveness as a leader, their skill set overall, issues that they have within their teams or the organization or the client organization even. Sometimes they're business issues and decisions that they need help with. But often, as you say, what we're dealing with are the same kinds of issues that clients looking for life coaching will come with. You know, lack of confidence, imposter syndrome, lack of trust in others, the victim mentality that a lot of people have without realizing it, lack of self-worth, or inner anger, or tendency to become irritated or frustrated with people very easily, poor communication skills and inability to create really authentic relationships, all that sort of stuff, you know, that people deal with in their lives generally.
Yeah, I recognize those topics. And I think it brings me to the next piece about how you then work with these leaders. And I met you in 2009, so that must have been just before you moved to France.
It was the same year, actually. Yeah, I came back from France to do that workshop.
So back in 2009, you were running a number of workshops So the one I attended was in London. It was an evening workshop, and it made a big impression on me because you seem to work quite differently with the clients, with the coachees, than what I had been taught. So what I'd been taught was more like inquiring at a cognitive level. But your method that you demonstrated that night, which I remember so vividly, was that you seemed to inquire into an emotional body almost. So what do you remember from those workshops you ran back then, and the responses you got from people?
Yeah, that was an interesting time actually, because as you say, I published a book a couple of years before, so I was on a kind of a tour of the UK talking to coaching associations and groups about this approach. And it was really interesting for me to be talking about and demonstrating this live to an audience, because I haven't done that before. I wasn't sure totally how it was going to be received, because it was a bit, you know, as you say, a bit off the wall. Could seem a bit off the wall. So, you know, it's the first time I'd actually done what I call the metaphorical journey, as you say, going into the body and asking the body what it thinks about the client's issue. And it was really, you know, wonderful that most people were very enthusiastic, and as you say, kind of it's a totally new thing for most people. So yeah, it was well received.
There is also a DVD that you produced, and I've recently watched that DVD, and it's fascinating because you actually have live coaching conversations that are not staged on that DVD. So you see how a client comes and presents a topic, a leadership topic, and you coach them through it in a completely 100% real way, and they get great results. It's fascinating to watch. What is it really that happens? Why do you think the metaphorical journey as a toolkit is giving such good results?
I have no idea. It is as astonishing to me every time it happens as I think it is to the client. I don't know what goes on. The only thing I think I know is that what quantum physics is talking about, that everything is made of energy, and that everything that exists is a form of energy, whether it's you know, an object which is in front of you, or your thoughts, or your feelings, or your beliefs, or an event that's taken place in your life, even a long time ago. And in the case of events, you know, the event is there, still in your body, resonating at a very low frequency. But when someone pushes the button of that person, then it'll flare up and it'll become an issue. So it's so interesting just to ask the client to go inside their body and feel the emotion that is generated when they think of this issue, and to be aware of it in terms of its shape and size and those things. That just gives you a handle on the entity, as it were. It's like I call it the feeling being, really. And then asking the feeling being what it thinks about the issue, about the person, and literally let the body speak its mind. And I think because our default setting as human beings is health, mental health and physical health, that if you give the mind and the body certain things, a lot of the time, not always, nothing is guaranteed, of course, but a lot of the time, then the body will sort things out on its own. And I think being listened to and being able to say what's going on for it without the brain interrupting and putting labels on things and saying, well, that means that, it can't be right because that happened then. The brain goes off for a walk because it doesn't understand the process at all. And so the body can get on with it. And basically amazing things happen. I literally, as I say, I'm amazed every time it happens. And I don't know what's going on. I just, if it works, I keep on doing it.
Yeah, certainly, and I've used it with clients as well. You have used it on me. Other people have used it on me, and every time it generates a shift. And I think, like you said, it's like the brain gets out of the way because the brain sometimes complicates things. Mm. How central is it to your work? Do you use it in every session or every other session?
No, not at all. It's just a tool like anything else. And I sort of feel when the client's talking about an issue that they're particularly stuck with, or I can see it on their face, then I'll say, would you want to try something a bit different? And they always say yes, because if someone has said yes to a coaching program, then they're up for something anyway, they're up for something different. So yes, it's just a tool that I bring out of the toolkit as and when it's necessary.
And for those who want to know more or to use it, is it still the book and the DVD you recommend, or do you still run workshops?
Yes, the book and the DVD really cover most of it. If people want me to run workshops, then I'm happy to do so. It's always better to do things in live and to just actually be practicing it with a live, client, and then have the feedback from them, and for me to be having a look at what's going on. So, but basically, I think the book and the DVD give most people enough material to be working with.
And just to be sure, it's Quantum Skills for Coaches. It's on Amazon. I've seen it there.
That's right. Yeah.
And is there anything else you would like to say here in wrapping up, where people can find you, or what you're up to at the moment, or anything else?
I have a new website I'm just starting now called Annette Simmons Coaching, because I'm becoming aware that there's a lot of people wanting life coaching around as well, and leadership coaching is a little bit of a niche. So I'm opening myself up more to life coaching, and just preparing the new website now. But that can also be on Skype, of course, or down here in the south of France, face to face.
Wonderful. I think that was really gave us a great insight into what you do, and hopefully make people curious about the Quantum Skills for Coaches approach as well. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Well, thank you, Susanne. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you.